given the RLM76 a couple of days to dry, and it's come out really well actually. The pre-shading's showing through, but not too much. It's still there, I haven't lost it. The next thing I now need to do is to mask up. Not going to bother filming that, but I'll try and take a few photos, because to be honest it's going to be pretty tedious you watching me swearing at a bit of tape for about the next hour or so. So I've managed to get the FW190 masked up. That was a bit of a challenge. Managed to get the wavy line that runs down the edge of the fuselage, wavy lines on the front of the wings, and it's quite simple just to mask up everything else. With the wavy lines, I put some masking tape on the cutting mat and went down with a scalpel, just drawing a bit of a wavy line down. Took a couple of goes until I got some wavy lines that I was happy with, but I must admit the wavy lines on the box art and the wavy lines on the back are completely different size. It appears on here that the waves are larger on the front, and as it works its way down, those wavy lines get smaller. But on the box art, it appears the wavy lines start and get to about halfway down the canopy and then just turn into a straight line. I've been trying to work out the colour coding from what's on the back of the Airfix kit to the colours used in the Vallejo Luftwaffe set that I have. I think there's been a few shortcuts made. Best thing, and what I recommend for anyone else to do if you do get these, is to read here where it says what the different little information pack that comes with the paint set. The colours here that I'm really going to be using are the RLM66, which is the interior. What's gone on the underside is the RLM76, and then the top two colours are going to be the RLM74 and the 75. Okay, so we've got the spray booth set up, and the next part is to do the painting. I'm going to start off, which is the Humbrol Code 27, and for that I'll be using the Vallejo Model Air Grey Violet RLM75, which is 71.257. So at the moment, I've now popped that RLM75 on the top layers and of course the underside of the tail planes as well. Next is to put on the grey-green RLM74. Now this is a camo pattern. To mask it up, I'm going to be using white-tac. Could try to do it freehand, but I want to try and get more of a harder edge, but not a complete hard edge that you would have if you were using masking tape. Okay, so far I've put on white-tac sausages, for want of a better word. That's just going to give me my demarcation lines. Now the bits that are going to be remaining the grey colour, I'm now going to be filling in just with some Tamiya tape, just to make sure those remain grey, and the rest of the parts that aren't masked will then end up with the grey-green colour. I'm just sticking these bits to my arm before I put them on here, just to try to reduce the amount of tack. What I don't want to do is have this all masked up perfectly, and then when I remove the tape, find out that I'm peeling off the paint that I've just been trying to mask. That's what I'm genuinely worried about with all that masking tape on the bottom. So I've managed to get that masked up. Might be a little bit overkill. I've used the white-tac sausages, used white-tac not blue-tac because that shouldn't leave any oily residue. So got the spray booth set up, got it all masked up, and now it's just a case of putting on the Model Air, the grey-green RLM74. Okay, so we've got the RLM74 on. I'm going to start trying to get that masking off. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do it carefully. Hopefully I won't be peeling off too much of the paint underneath it. I must admit I'm pleased with how this is going so far. There's a few little bits that might potentially need a touch up, and I have just managed to bend one of the guns, but that should be quite an easy fix. But so far the top side where I've just put that green on seems to be okay. I've now got to be much more careful because now I'm going to be unmasking the light blue grey colour, which has been on a lot longer and is also quite delicate, and I have got a whole load of masking tape underneath. The masking so far haven't managed to peel off much. There's maybe one or two very, very small minor little bits of overspray and maybe a few little bits where it peeled where I was removing, but those really are minor. The panel lines are still popping out. Pre-shading on the bottom is fine, and once the panel wash goes on that's going to look good, and I think the panel lines really are standing out already, but so far that is all looking pretty good. Okay, so let's risk it with doing a little bit of mottling on here. I'm just going to do this very, very carefully. I think if I just put it about a centimetre away and just push the trigger, I just seem to get a little spot, and that's what I'm just going to try to do here. So let's try a centimetre there and a quick squirt. Okay. That might work. I have used a thinned mixture in here. That might be too thin. That might have been a bit too much pressure. Yeah, I'm going to just thicken that up with a bit more paint. So since I finished recording the last video, I decided that the wavy line was just looking too stark. So I took a bit more of the light blue RLM76 and just with the airbrush followed the line along where the masking was, just to try to break the line up. Then I tried a bit more of the mottling, where I used a bit more of the RLM75, which was the grey violet, and a touch more of the RLM74, just to put a bit more of the mottling on the sides. And whilst I was there, I just masked up the engine vents, which were black as well. The next thing I want to do is, before I do any weathering or any panel lines, is to try to seal all that in. And to do that, I'm going to be using this Pledge floor polish, and then that's going to give me a nice smooth surface to put the decals on, and then also put the panel lines and everything in there. Once that's done, weather it up and we should be starting to get towards the end of the project. What this does is gives it a waxy seal to try to prevent anything, basically gives a membrane. Now the idea is not to go on too heavy, because otherwise it can flood it too much and it will go into the panel lines, which is great for removing scratches on a canopy when you've got very small things to fill, but I don't want to go too overboard on this. If you do it too thin, you can get a more rougher effect. Also want to make sure that the air pressure is quite low, because I can find if you have the air pressure too high, this is quite thin, it can blast it out, and you literally do have a model dripping in this stuff. So if you are doing this, it can be brush painted on, but if you're airbrushing it, make sure you've got an extractor to get those chemicals outside. Okay, so I just went on 2 very light passes. At the moment it is looking quite shiny, which is good because that's going to give a nice smooth base for the decals to go onto, and also for the panel line wash to go into as well. The idea is this is going to form a layer between the acrylic paint layer, then the layer of the clear coat, and then everything else can go on top. And if we overdo the wash of the panel lines, it'll be a lot easier to wash that off rather than going down into the paint layer that we've got in there.